right, everybody, welcome back to, what is this, night 7 of Sukkot? It's awesome. It's awesome. So, John is going to be speaking with us tonight and tomorrow night. So we got 2 more nights, and then he's off to Istanbul, Turkey, very shortly afterwards on his worldwide travels. So, without any further ado, here is the man of the evening, John Kostik.
No? Okay. Oh, we're waiting for something. It's coming. What? He says so. We'll find out. And I got an update from Max. I told you flu, head, sweating all night, can't sleep. He is going to try to wake up at 6:30 this morning, his time, which will be 8:30, 9 o'clock here. And if it works, it works. If not, oh well. Okay. Tonight is Nate night. Yeah. Ah, hey, leave the comedy to me. Tonight is math night. And let me tell you, what you're about to see is already on video. I've made a couple different math videos, and I went through and pulled out a lot of my favorite parts, and we're going to see it tonight. The chances of you keeping up, taking notes, is slim. Okay? Because stuff is just going to be coming at you like a wall of numbers. What I suggest is just be in awe of our God for putting this together and absorb it. Because seriously, when you leave tonight, knowing where pi is hidden in the Bible, it's not going to do you any good, probably, you know. But it is really good faith building or faith strengthening. Well, for anybody, because if you know what pi is, wow, there's pi. Oh, how do you do that? Okay. And then if you really want to watch it again, go home and... Exactly. You can watch this one. You can watch this one, or you can go home and watch my YouTube on math, God math. Okay. Now, the 3 numbers that you're going to see a lot of tonight is 1, 3, and 7. These seem to be God's numbers. 1, he's one. He's one God. And we know that he shows up as 3 persons. And he has this liking of the number 7, where he weaves it in everywhere. And then he takes combinations of these. So you'll see 13 a lot. You'll see 37. You'll see 73. You'll see 137. And how he works that in, just amazing. All right, let us begin. We'll start with the number 1. Probably the most important place is in the Shema. Oh, by the way, you do know in the Hebrew alphabet, every Hebrew letter has a geometry value, right? And we will refer back to this occasionally, but notice here's the Hebrew alphabet, and the geometry values run 1 to 10, and then they jump 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400. So this is where I'm getting these numbers. Who created them? I can only imagine God did. Okay? And the Jews do use these letters to represent numbers. Okay? All right. Here's a close-up of the first 3, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. We talked about Gimel last night being the 3. So there's numbers 1, 2, and 3. Next. And here is the Shema, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The Hebrew word for one is echad. By the way, they have two different words for one. One of them here is echad. And when you see, here it's, watch my fingers. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. It's interesting that he said his name, he said his thing 3 times, and then he made sure he said it was one. So that's kind of a little thing pointing toward the complex unity. And this word for one here, throughout the Bible, I don't have examples of it to show you, but I'll just tell them to you. Whenever he said, he told Adam, and when he makes Eve, and they're going to put them together, and it's the marriage thing in Genesis 2, that 2 shall become 1. And he uses the word echad, one, there. In the book of Numbers, they're talking about these, he had one cluster of grapes. It's one, echad, but it's a cluster. There's many things. So you have, when you use echad, it can be multiple things that come together to be one. You know, people say, well, how can God be 3? How can it be 1 but 3? Well, he can be, how can 2 become 1 in a marriage? You understand? If 2 can become 1 in God's eyes, then God can be 3 and be 1. There's another word for one in Hebrew, and that word is, this is echad, the other one is echid, yachid. Whenever Abraham is told, take your son, your only son, the one whom you love, Isaac, he doesn't say your echad son. He says your yachid son, your one and only one. Here, when you use yachid, you can't take different things and put them together. If God would have said yachid in the Shema, that would have ruled out any possibility of a complex unity or a trinity. But because he used echad, and I'm spending more time on this than I was expecting, but I want you to understand. Next. Now, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the Aleph. And Aleph is a word. And by the way, Aleph's value is 1. And Aleph represents God, right? And Aleph is a word. It's a letter, Aleph, but you can spell it, Aleph. You can hear there's letters in there. Here's the Aleph. That's a P sound, P or F, okay? That's how you spell Aleph. And I can put the gematria in for Aleph. That's 1, that's 30, that's 80, which adds up to 111, which again is pointing to his complex unity. He's one God, 3 persons. Next. Next. Now let's look at some 3s. Next. Okay, here's Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Here it is in the Hebrew, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim va'et haaretz. Next. Next. Bereshit bara Elohim. Elohim, this is the title of God. And here I've put in the gematria values for Elohim. By the way, we're not going to keep going back to the big alphabet chart and showing you that Aleph is 1 and Hey is 5. Trust me, I'm putting in the right numbers. Okay. Okay, next. Now, I want to show you that to make a triangle, you need a certain number of dots. You can't make a triangle with 2 dots, but you can make one with 3 dots. And if you wanted to make a bigger triangle, you can make one with 6 dots. If you're a bowler, you can make one with 10 dots. And if you're not a bowler, you can still make one with 10 dots. And to each subsequent triangle, you're just adding a new bottom row. Look here. you add 3 to the bottom, add 4 to the bottom, add 5 to the bottom. So these are all triangle numbers, right? Only a certain number of dots can make triangles. Next. And you'll notice in Elohim's title, the first 3 letters is Aleph, Lamed, Hey, 1, 30, and 5 add up to 36. 36 is a triangle number. Very nice. Again, kind of hinting at his complex unity. Next. If you put in the second, third, and fourth, 35 and 10 is 45. That is a triangle number. If you put in the last 3, Hey, Yod, right? Genesis 1:1 provides all 3. In beginning, there's time. God created Hashemayim, the heavens, that's space, and the earth, matter. He's a triune God, Elohim, which Elohim shows up 1, 2, 3. He's a triune God whose title shows up third, and he creates a trinity of things in Genesis 1:1. And, next, the 3 things he created are also trinities. Time is past, present, and future. Space, length, width, and depth. Matter, solid, liquid, and gas. So a trinity of trinities. We've already said this one is, we've seen that. Next. Next. By the way, 111 is 3 times 37. So here's your 37 he's weaving in. Okay? You're going to see 3, 7 a lot. Next. Next. In Genesis 1:1, you'll notice there are 7 words. 7 words kind of reminds you of the menorah, right? Don't we have a menorah up here someplace? Oh, over there. Next. There are 28 letters in Genesis 1:1. That's 4 times 7. Next. Notice God, Elohim, and Et, and we've talked about Et a lot. Et is Aleph Tav, God on the cross. Aleph Tav, it's the first and the last of the Hebrew alphabet. First and last, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Aleph Tav is a picture of Yeshua Jesus. He sits right there in the middle of Genesis 1:1. He also sits at the right hand of Elohim, right? Here's Elohim. On the right hand is Et. And Elohim and Et together, 7 letters. And what did he create? He created the heavens at Hashemayim, which add up to 7 letters. And he also created Et Haaretz, 7 letters. So everything he's creating is made up of 7 letters. Very nice. Next. The first half of this verse, the first 3 words, contain 14 letters, which is divisible by 7. The end of the verse has 4 words, and they contain 14 letters, divisible by 7. Here's just a reminder of the gematria values. You got them? Okay. If you take the gematria of the first letter of the first word and the first letter of the last word, 2 and 5 is 7. Take the last letter of the first word, 400, Tav, and the last letter of the last word, 90, for the tzadi. 490 is divisible by 7. If you take the first and last letters of every word in the book, in the first verse, it adds up to 1393, which is 7 times 199. How could you even begin to write a verse if I gave you the numbers and letters? You pick the numbers for the letters. Write a verse that has all these 7s woven in it. And we've just scratched the surface here. Next. The nouns. There are 3 nouns in Genesis 1:1. There's God, there's heavens, and there's earth. The nouns have 14 letters. If I put the gematria of Elohim is 86, 395, and 296 for Haaretz. The nouns add up to 777, which is 7 times 111, which is 7 times 3 times 37. Next. And then not only does he weave stuff, and we could go on and on just in verse 1, but we're trying to get as much math as we can to just keep him quiet for a year. But there are other 7s that are just kind of woven into life. There are 7 days in the week, and that doesn't seem to change. I read a couple hundred years ago, maybe it was during the French Revolution, that the French wanted to do a 10-day week. And they tried and tried, but you can't, because God said at the beginning, this is how it's going to be, and it'll be like this forever. And it is, 7 days in a week. Next. You have 7 colors in the visual light spectrum, right? Next. Roy G. Biv, remember him? Mm-hmm. By the way, whenever Genesis 1:3, Vayomer Elohim, Yehi Or, Vayi Or. What is that? And God said, be light, and light was. When he said be light, we think of light as this. But this part right there, this teeny tiny piece, that's just the visible light spectrum. Long radio waves, that's light. And radio waves and microwaves and infrared and UV, X-rays, gamma rays, this is all light. When he said be light, that whole page showed up. Not just that little piece that we can see the color, 7 colors. You understand? That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Next. And there are 7 colors in the rainbow, okay? And there are 3 primary colors. 7, 3. Next. There are 7 notes on a music scale. Next. And there are 3 accidentals, sharp, flat, and natural. Right? There are 7 modes used in Western music. Don't ask me to explain modes, but it is a musical kind of thing. And there are the 7. 37 degrees Celsius is your average temperature. Okay, we would do 98.6, but I don't know if that's a God thing or that it's 37. I don't know if he made up the Celsius scale, but it is kind of interesting. In Genesis, in the book of Genesis, I just went through and picked some of the 7s that are woven in there. We're not going to read them all, but there's 7 days between Noah sending the doves, 7 colors in the rainbow. He worked 7 years for Rachel. Why 7? 7, 7. You understand? There must be something. 7 is God's perfection, completion. He's happy with 7. Next. In Exodus, he wove 7 a lot through Exodus. Leviticus. Look how many 7s are in Leviticus. I didn't even have room to put a little hint of what each one was. This is the kind of stuff you can go look up yourself, but those all have 7 involved. Here's Numbers. Woo! Lots of 7s. And Deuteronomy. Okay, next. While I was putting the original math talk together, I started working on this talk. And hopefully next year when I come, this one will be finished. This is all I have done so far. You know what this is? I do have more of this done. When Moses, he went up Mount Sinai, right? How many times? How about 7? 7 times, up and down, up and down, up and down, like a yo-yo. Okay? And we're going to go through each time, what he did each time. Then he went back down, he reported to the people, and then he went back up and talked to God, and then he went back down and yelled at the people. But there's actually 7 up and downs. Could be even 8. Well, it's at least 7. Okay, so that's what we're working on, and I was going to take that out today. I thought, well, I'll give you a little tease to come back next year, or to invite me back next year. And not only the 7s in the Torah and in the Old Testament, you got 7s woven through the New Testament. And I'm going to just throw out a couple of them here. Jesus said, I am 7 times. And these are the 7 I ams. Next.
Whoops. I go 2.
There are 7 Marys in the Bible. We won't read them all, but just, this is the point. I don't want you copying all this down. I just want you to go, wow. And you can go check it on your own or whatever, but it is true. Next. 7 times or places Jesus bled. I didn't put the slide up here. We're going to put it up in a second, but I thought we'd play Let's Guess. The 7 times Yeshua Jesus bled. Where did he bleed? Garden of Gethsemane, he sweat blood. There's one. Did he bleed there? We don't know. You might bleed if you pull your... Let's say his head. We'll call this head, because he did bleed. They put thorns and they pulled his beard. His head will be one, okay? They put a spear and blood and water come out. There's 3. Hands, someone said. There's 4. Feet, 5. They whipped his back, 6. So she said, we put that with head.
Probably skinned his knees when he fell.
No, there's a verse in Psalm that said he would not let the Messiah even stumble, trip on his foot. Angels would catch him, so he did not fall on his knees. No. Somebody did say it earlier. Circumcision, day 8. Okay. Next. But these are the kind of... There's 7. I'm not counting that. Well, internal bleeding. I mean, how do we know it? Huh? Well, they put a sword and the blood came out. That's... Okay, but yeah. All right, next. 7 people proclaimed Jesus innocent. That's kind of cool. And what's neat about these 7s, the way he has them woven in, they're not just, this doesn't come up and say, and then 7 people declared him innocent. No, they're all through the Gospels, and you just have to read and study and write them all down and go, wow, there's 7 of them. Okay?
And it's interesting who they are.
Yeah. Judas, Pontius, Pilate, Herod, Antipas, Pilate's wives that have nothing to do with this just man, the dying thief, the Roman centurion, and the Roman guards. Yeah, not fans of Yeshua necessarily.
Whoops.
There were 7 churches written to by...
I went 2.
We went 2, okay. 7 statements uttered by Yeshua from the cross. 7, 7, 7, 7. Next. 7 churches written to by Yeshua. By the way, next week, I'm flying to Istanbul, and then we're renting a car or a van, and we're going to visit those. Won't that be fun? Not in order. There are what? 67s. Uh-huh. Okay. Next. And there are the 7 churches, okay, Yeshua, Jesus wrote to. Next.
Pretty slide.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It took a while. And Paul also wrote to 7 churches. He wrote more than 7 letters, but sometimes he wrote 1 Thessalonians, then 2 Thessalonians, right? He wrote 2 to 1 church. All right, next. There's Genesis 1:1 again. Continue. Notice that second word, bara, has 3 letters. Next. And then you have Elohim et is 7 letters. Next. Over here at the end, you have 3 letters. Next. And here you have 7. There's kind of a little pattern there, right? You got 3s and 7s.
Mirror.
It's like a mirror. Next. And again. And would you believe that 3,773 is 7 times 7 times 77? More 7s he's woven into Genesis 1:1. That's kind of clever. No, it's very clever. Next. The first 3 verses of the Bible contain 3 cubed words. Okay? So you can count verses 1, 2, and 3. There's 27 words, which is 3 cubed. Next. The next 7 verses contain 7 cubed letters. And there are 343 letters in the next 7 verses. Next. And then the rest of the chapter contains 3 times 7 verses. So even 3s and 7s are woven through the entire first chapter of Genesis. Next. And by the 3 cubed is 27, right? And 27 is closely related to the 37 because of the 3 cubed. And if you put in your computer or calculator 1 divided by 27, look what you get. 037, 037, 037. And what's show you that they really are connected, if you take 1 divided by 37, you get 0.027, 027, 027. So 37 and 27 are both God numbers. Next. Next. If you multiply 37 times 73 times 137, you get a big number with 37s. 370,037. Next. I'm going to put in the gematria of each word. Bereshit is 913, 203. You got it? If you add up the entire verse, it's 2,701. You might think that will be divisible by 7. It's not. You might think it's divisible by 3. What's the rule for divisibility by 3, remember? Anyone? 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Is 10 divisible by 3? Then neither is 2701. So that's odd that the entire verse, he missed that it's not divisible by 3 and it's not divisible by 7.
I bet it's special, though.
It's very special. Next. By the way, that 2701, that magic total of Genesis 1:1, if you add its reflection, which is 1072, it comes out to 3773. Next.
I'm just looking at So the mirror creates another mirror.
Yes. We've already seen this. Next. We already said that. Next. We've seen that. Next. Why don't I take... Okay, let's go to this one. This is nice. Jeremiah 10:12 said, "It is he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom." So God created the heavens and the earth using his chakma. That's the Hebrew word for wisdom. This one is one of my faves. Anybody remember what's going to happen here? Oh, good, because this is... No. Okay, so here's wisdom. Wisdom is chakma. It's spelled het, kaf, mem, hey. If I put in the ordinate values is just where does it show up in the alphabet? Okay, well, het is the 8th letter, kaf is the 11th, mem is the 13th, and hey is the 5th. The ordinate values add up to 37. How clever. Now let's plug in the gematria values. Well, het is still 8, kaf is 20, mem is 40, hey is 5. The gematria values add up to 73. That's kind of clever. Chakma, wisdom. He used wisdom. It says he used wisdom to establish the world. And wisdom adds up to 37 one way and 73 the other way. And if you multiply them together, you get 2701, which is Genesis 1:1. Not wow. Wowee. My goodness.
Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
It is a tough crowd. Next. It's 2701. That's what he used to establish the world. Next. Now, the Star of David. You know, and I just want to smack some people. Not in this room, but, well, a couple in this room. But I got people writing to me who say, the Star of David, that's the satanic star, and it's the Star of Rephidim, or blah, blah, blah. And the Jews are whatever. Let me tell you, the Star of David is so Jewish and so God-anointed, and I'm going to show you lots of them tonight if we have the time. But if you want to make a Star of David, you need 13 dots. And here I got 13. You can't make one with 12. You can't make one with 14. It has to be 13. Well, there's your 1 and 3. One God, 3 persons. Okay? That's not my only proof for the godliness of a Star of David. Next. If you want to make a bigger Star of David, you need 37 dots. 37. Who even deals in 37s? You know, it's a prime number. It's not like nobody knows there are 37 tables. Next. If you want to make a bigger Star of David, you need 73 dots. And there's no between. There's no 13. The next one is 37. The next one is 73. You understand? These are magic numbers. Next. If you want to make a really big one, you need 337 dots. Now, let's take Genesis 1:1. Oh, and go back just for just a second. I want you to sear this into your brain. 337 is a big Star of David. Okay, now, here's Genesis 1:1. We're going to look at just the even words. That means word number 2, 4, and 6. That's 203 bara plus 401 et plus 407 vaet, and that adds up to 1011, which is 3 times 337. Where have we seen 337? I just showed you a minute ago, right? It was a really big Star of David, and we've got 3 of them. Well, that's kind of nice. There's one here for the Father, blue. Blue, I put Father because he's up in heaven. And the Son is red because he came down and shed his red blood. And the Holy Spirit is gold, and it has been sent out like gold. He's delivering gold to us, his message. So isn't that cool that he wove 3 stars of David in the even words of Genesis 1:1. Here are the odd words, words 1, 3, 5, and 7. That adds up to 1690, which is 10 times 169. This is 169 dots. And if that's 169, there's 10 times 169. That's the picture of the odd words of Genesis 1:1. And if you put the evens and odds together, look, here are the even words. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 169 odd words. And it makes this beautiful, this is like this is Genesis 1:1, isn't it? There's 2,701 dots on that page. It took me an entire day to make this. I want to hear some oohs and ahs. Jeez. But notice, you have the Father is up. You have the Son comes down. You have the Spirit goes out. It's symmetrical. You can put a line right there, and you could fold this half onto that half. Or you can put it here and fold the top down on the bottom. Or you can put it here and fold this up. But it has 3 lines of symmetry, 3 different places you can fold it onto itself. There's a 3-ness even woven into this. This is not a Rorschach test. This is a lecture. Next. Frog. You're going to see frogs. That's what your father would say then. You're going to see frogs. And I'll show you frogs. Okay, we put all the values back in for each word. Next. Note, we're going to go through these quick. Get your finger ready. Bereshit adds up to 913. If you don't believe me, there it is, but you don't have time to count. Next. Baraz 203. Elohim 86. Et 401. Give him a minute to add that one up. 395. Haaretz. Va'et 407. 296 for Haaretz. Right? Notice that Haaretz, just by itself, is 37 times 8. Will give you, isn't that cool? That he even weaves 37 into the individual word. And Va'et, right here, Va'et is 407. Well, 407 happens to be, go back, 37 times 11 is 407. So he weaves 37 into Va'et. If I take Elohim and Hashemayim, that's 86 plus 395. Those two add up to 37 times 13.
Whoops.
That's twice this week it didn't break. Next. If I take these two, that's 37 times 19. If I take this one, this one, this one, and this one, that's 37 times 32. You see how many 37s he's woven even just in combinations of words that are divisible by 37. By the way, if you have 7 words or 7 numbers, you give somebody 7 numbers, the chances of combinations any combinations, these 4, these 2, these 5, all 7, the chances that their totals are divisible by 37, you should get 3.4 of them, combinations, should add up to 37. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't, sorry, we're moving on. But here's 3 right here, and we saw 2 a minute ago. Okay, so we're already over the average, what it should be. Here's 4 more. This, and this are 37 times 35. These 3 are 37 times 35. Here's 5 more combinations that are divisible by 37. You understand? There should only have been 3 or 4 combinations that do this. Here's some more, 5 more. The chances of picking words and putting them together and divisible by 37, it's impossible. But he has 23 different combinations. And here are all the combinations of Genesis 1:1 words that are divisible by 37. That's pretty amazing. And because he's God and he really can show off, he's about to, watch this. In all of these combinations, Bereshit is used 12 times. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 times Bereshit is in all those combinations. Bara is used 12 times throughout all those combinations. Elohim is used 12 times in all those combinations. Et, used 12 times. Hashemayim, 12 times. Va'et, 12 times. Haaretz, 12 times. He used each word exactly 12 times in all the different combinations, permutations, or whatever they are. You like that one? That took some time too. Yeah, that's more oohing and eyeing God than my, yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah. Next. Okay, so there's all those. Each one is used 12 times. Next. By the way, in all those combinations, there are 4 combinations that add up to the same thing. Look, this is 37 times 27, and these 2 are 37 times 27. You understand? It repeats. There's 2 different combinations that do 37 times 27, right? And there's 2, you understand what I'm saying? And there's 2 combinations that give you 37 times 35. 2 combinations give you 37 times 38, and 2 give you 37 times 46. So 4 of the totals duplicate, right? Let's go to the next one. I forget what I even have for the next one. Oh, there are the ones that duplicate, okay? And if you take the values of the duplications, here 37 times 27 is 999. 37 times 35, that's 1295. This one's 1406. This one's 1702. If you add up just the values that duplicate 2, double, right? You get 5402. 5402 is 2701 times 2701, which brings back the 2701s, okay? And these are the ones that appear twice. And we got 2 2701s. Next. Here are all the combinations minus the duplicates. Got it? I just took, there was 2 of these, I took 1 out. There were 2 of those, I took 1 out. I just put 1 of each, okay? Next. So I'm going to take those 23 different combinations. I took out the duplicates. When I do, I'm left with 19 different combinations, right? put in the totals of each of those, and add up all of those, and you get 27,010. How does he do this? Which is 37 times 730, or it's 73 times 370. Next. By the way, the third of all the combinations, the third one adds up to 481. I picked the third because we're talking about 3s and 7s today, correct? And the seventh one adds up to 999. 3 and 7, right? The third and the seventh. And those total 1,480. Well, what's special about 1,480 is that's the value of Christos in Greek. Greek also has little geometry numbers. So it's called isopsephy. But Christos is the third. The 3 and the 7 give you the Christos. Next, if I look at the sixth one is 888. 888 is Eusus. So you have Jesus and Christ both hidden in there on the third, sixth, and seventh. Next, Yeshua HaMashiach, Eusus Christos, Jesus the Christ. That's the whole thing again. Next. Those four together are kind of clever because they add up to, let's just take that box and expand it. Next. Here's that box. This one adds up to 777. The next one adds up to 888, 999, and again 999. I can go about 20 minutes on those four. I decided to take it out, but it's amazing all the stuff that happens in there, perhaps in the future someday, but not today. Next. Already said it. Next. Next. These are the Greek values. Next. Aleph is 1. We know that. Next. Aleph is 1, and the way the Jews do this is when it gets to 1,000, 1,000 is called Aleph. It's still spelled the same as Aleph, but it's pronounced Aleph. And so Aleph, the letter Aleph, can represent 1, and it also represents 1,000. Okay? Bet represents 2, but it can also represent 2,000, because they have to get big, big numbers, right? All right. Next. Yes. Yes, it is. 1,000 is 10 times 10 times 10. Next. Which is 3 plus 7 cubed. 3s and 7s. Next. Elohim, we said, was 86. Correct? Next. Yahava is 26. And we just told you a minute ago what Jesus added up to. What was Jesus? Eusus. 888 is Jesus. And Yahweh is Elohim. And Yahweh is Jesus. And Jesus is Elohim. This is all one, isn't it? And if you add these three together, you get 1,000, which is Aleph, which is Aleph, remember, is God. So he adds up to God. He's one, he's God, he's Aleph, he's also 1,000, okay? To God, 1 is 1,000, 1,000 is 1. There's the numbers back in there again. Next. Okay, I'm going to take the totals of each one. This is 296 is Haaretz. 296 is 2 plus 9 plus 6. Correct? Which is 17. 407 is 4 plus 0 plus 7, 11. You see how I'm getting these numbers down here? Everybody happy with that? Okay, next. And when I do that, I'm going to even bring it down even more. So the 17 I can bring down as 1 plus 7, 8. 11 is 1 plus 1, 2. You see how I do all that? 5 just comes down as 5. And now let's add up all of those. 37. Do you understand? Any and every possible thing you could throw at Genesis 1:1 boils down to 37 or 73 or 3 and 7. Understand? I mean, that's an obscure thing to do with this verse, but it still comes out 37. There's the totals again, 2701. If I multiply all of these together, 296 times 407 times 390, multiply, get the product. This is going to be a big number. There is that big number right there. 304 million, 153, what? 153 whatever's, 525. That's a huge number, right? That's multiplying each word, the value of each word. Next. I'm going to plug in the digits for each one. 3 plus 4, 0 plus 4 plus 1 plus 5. You see what I'm doing? Just adding all those digits together, and it comes out to 73. Next. And this big number here is a multiple of 37. 37 times that will give you that 304. Okay? Next. Here's the value of each word. Next. We're going to look at the prime factors. You remember what prime factors are? Okay? No. 6. A prime number is a number that you can only get by multiplying itself times 1. 5 is prime. It's 5 times 1. There's no other things that multiply to get 5. Okay? So, 913 is 11 times 83. You can't break 11 down anymore, right? It's 11 times 1. 83 is prime. 83 times 1. You see what prime factors are? Everyone? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. All right, who's laughing? Bara is 203, which is 7 times 29. There's your prime factors. Next. 86 is 2 times 43. Next. Over here, 296 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 37. Next. This is 11 times 37. This is 5 times 79. And this one is prime. Well, that makes sense that it would be prime. It's Yeshua, right? He's prime. He is prime, right? He's not going to break. He's prime. I like right there in the middle. Okay, you like that? It gets better. Watch this. Next. If I add up the digits, if I add up these prime factors, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 37 plus 11 plus 37 plus 5 plus 30, just the ones on this side adds up to 175. If I do on this side, these prime factors add up to 175. And Jesus is in the middle prime. There's some beautiful symmetry in that. Isn't that nice? And this is 7 times 25. So there's your 7 woven in. Next. The number of letters in the Torah. There are 304,805. Okay. Next. If I write it backwards, I have too much time on my hands. If I write it backwards, I get 508,403. And let's break that down and break it down into 50, 84, and 3. Adds up to 137. Don't know what to do with it, but it killed 30 seconds. 137, this is a big number. You're going to see this a lot. There are a couple people who lived 137 years. Ishmael lived 137 years. Levi, one of Jacob's sons, lived 137 years. And Amram, Moses' father, lived 137 years. So that's odd. That's an odd number. And not often do they give ages of people when they die. Some they do, but 3 of them. This is the most used age, death age, listed in the Bible. You know, somebody else, Adam was 830. You're not going to find 4 people 930. I'm sorry. Adam is 930. Next. Here's Noah is one man who had 3 sons and 70 grandchildren. You see all of this in Genesis chapter 10. They call it the Table of Nations, right? And you kind of have a 1, 3, 7 here. You have one man, 3 sons, 70 grandchildren. We seeing it? Next. We have Adam. Adam is one man who yields 3 patriarchs, right? And then those 3 patriarchs, when Jacob went to Egypt, the total number that went to Egypt were 70. So again, you have 1 leading to 3, leading to 70. 1, 3, 7. Next. I'm gonna skip this. Skip, I think. Skip, and skip. Skip. Okay, one more. Oh, that was fancy. Did you do that, or did I do that? That's pretty cool.
I did that.
Next. I don't even know what that is. How can I do that? Next. Oh, there they are. Okay, we already know 2701 is 37 times 73. Next. We've already seen that. Next. Let's multiply 2701 times its reflection. I get 2,895,472. Next. Which, just put them down, 2,895,472. Any idea what they're going to add up to? 37. Next. And if I break them into sections, the 2, and then the 895, and then the 472, and add them up, I get 1369, which is 37 times 37. I mean, he's just got them. Any way you can look at Genesis 1:1, it's got these numbers woven in. Next. Since we're talking about math, I have some examples of big numbers in the Bible. Here's one. Caesar Augustus wanted to take a census of the whole empire. That would be a big number. How about next? God has, he even numbers the hairs on your head. There's a big number. Just checking, everybody has a big number on their head. Yep. Next, the number of mounted troops in Revelation. I think this is the biggest number in the Bible. 200 million man army is coming from the kings of the east during tribulation. So God's got big numbers. Next. God uses fractions. He says he gave him a tenth. This is Melchizedek. All right, Abraham gave Melchizedek 1/10. So that's a fraction. 1/10 shall be holy to the Lord. There's a fraction. Next. In the Revelation, these angels will be released to kill a third of mankind. Fractions. Next. Measurements. Noah is told to make the ark 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits. And measurement, he says, dishonest scales are abomination to the Lord, but an accurate weight is his delight. Nice. Next. And with measurement, we talked about this even the other night, that the New Jerusalem's going to come down, and it's 12,000 stadia by 12,000 stadia by 12,000 stadia. It's a cube, right? And that we realize that God likes to reside in cubes, okay, because he's going to here next. And it's 4 square, so there's geometry involved. He knows geometry. What? There's the whole tabernacle complex. Next. And this was the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. We told you it was 10 by 10 by 10. It was a cube. And when they built the temple, it was 20 by 20 by 20, the Holy of Holies. And the New Jerusalem is cube. Next. And there's the cube. If you open up a cube, we talked about this the other night, so we're going to go fast. But if you open up a cube, you get a cross. There are 6 faces in a cube. There are 12 edges in a cube. And there are 8 corners or vertices in a cube. The total is 26 parts in a cube. And Yud He Vav He Yahweh adds up to 26. Okay, nice. Next. Yep. Is there more coming? Yes, thank you. Remember I told you that Aleph can be 1 or Aleph can be 1,000. And here's how you would write 2701 in the Hebrew. You would put bet. Bet represents 2, but if you put an apostrophe after it, now the bet represents 2,000. Got it? So whenever you want to use the big numbers, use the small. Like if you want 3,000, use Gimel with an apostrophe. That's the 3, and then the apostrophe represents the 1,000. So here's 2,000. Tav is 400. Shin is 300. 400 and 300 is 700 and 1. So that's how you would write 2,701 in Hebrew. Okay? If you're using the letters. You tell them, look them in the eye and say, liar, liar, pants on fire. What? No. No, it's not. And here's why that can't be. That's the long day theory. Oh, it might have been 7 days, God created heaven, but those weren't just regular 24-hour days. Well, throughout the Bible, a day is a 24-hour period. He doesn't other times talk about other number of or lengths of days. And think about this. On day 3, the land appeared, and he saw it was good. Then he covered the land with vegetation and saw it was good. On day 4, he made the greater light, lesser light, and the stars also. Day 3's plants need sunlight. He can't make day 3 and then wait 1,000,000 years, wait 1,000 years. He can't even wait a week. They need light. And day 5, he makes the insects. And that day 3's plants need pollinated. They can't wait 2 million years to be pollinated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next. Yeah, next. Okay. Remember we showed you the number of dots you need to make a perfect triangle. 2701 is a perfect triangle. Okay. It has 73 rows. And the bottom row has 73 dots. That's kind of clever. Next. And here's the formula for a 73, the 73rd triangle number is 2701. You know, the first triangle number is just 1. The second triangle number has 3. The third triangle number has 6. Right? The fourth triangle number has 10. You see what I'm doing? No.
Goes back to that slide we showed earlier.
Yeah, there was that slide. If you wanted a triangle, you need 3. If you want a bigger triangle, you need 6. Well, the one that has 6, that's the third. The first one only has 1 dot. The next one has 3 dots. The third triangle has 6. The fourth triangle has 10. The 73rd triangle has 2701. That's the formula you use to calculate. Okay, if you want to know what is the 5th triangle number, put 5 here. 5 plus 1, 6. 6 times 5, 30. 30 divided by 2, 15. So the 6th triangle number would have 15 dots. That's the formula you use for that. Next. Okay, thank you. Next. Now, we're showing you all this cool stuff in Genesis 1:1. Look at John 1:1, because the New Testament is in Greek, and Greek uses isosophy, which also has numbers for each letter. I showed you earlier that they do, and just believe me that they do. Here's John 1:1. I put in the values, and the sum of all Genesis 1:1 is 3627. Notice the word word. Word here is logos. Logos, logos. It's 3 times in this verse, right? In the beginning was the Word was with God, and God was the Word. Next. By the way, this 3627 is 13 times 3 times 3 times 31. That's how you get 3627. That's kind of cool that that's the prime factors of John 1:1. We saw Genesis 1:1, its prime factors, 37 and 73. He's still keeping the 1 and 3 concept going here. Next. And sadly, John 1:1 is not a perfect triangle number. But it is a perfect trapezoid number. Okay? So that's nice that it does. Okay? He does know geometry. Next. And what's really cool is that John 1:1 trapezoid, its top row has 74 dots. And Genesis 1:1's triangle, bottom row has 73 dots. And the Genesis 1:1 triangle fits perfectly on top of the John 1:1 trapezoid.
Wow.
And those two verses do go together because they both begin in the beginning. So that kind of shows you that they... And the total of everything is 6328, which is divisible by 7. Next. Okay, we've already said this one. Next. I do want you to notice that this word logos, the word word, is 30, 73, 70, and 200, which is 373. Kind of nice. Next. And notice that this half of the sentence, and God was, adds up to 373. So you have, and God was, word. That's 373, and that's 373. It's showing the two are equal. Make sense? Next. Logic. Logic is a mathematical concept. Let's look at some logic. This is called the transitive property. It says if B equals C and C equals A, then B equals A. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. Well, let's look at an example. Next. If Yeshua is the light, well, we know he's the light. It says in John 18, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. So if Yeshua is the light, and the light is good, well, we know the light is good because God saw the light was good. Then what can we conclude? Then Yeshua must be good. And the guy says, why did you call me good? No one is good except God alone. But the guy recognized Yeshua as good, so Yeshua is good. Back, God, good, back, one, click, back, God. The word good comes from God. You know that? That's where we get the word good. It's G-O-D, G-O-O-D. Next. How about some algebra? No, we haven't got to algebra yet. Okay, algebra is a Arabic word. And here I made my little Cartesian coordinate system, and I have this function of x and y, and a little formula here, 37x plus 6y. Next.
Should have known algebra was Arabic.
Here's Genesis 1:1 and the totals of each. Just keep that in mind. In fact, so you can keep it in mind, I'm going to shrink it down and stick it up there. Now, watch. Next. Look at Bereshit, 913. I'm using this formula, 37x plus 6y. If I put 25 in here, 37 times 25 is 925. And I'm going to put negative 2 in for the y. 6 times negative 2 gives you negative 12. Together, this gives you 913. You see what I'm doing? And I can even graph it over here. The point 25, negative 2. Bara is put in 5, 3. Here are the points, 5, 3. If you put a 5 in here, 37 times 5 plus 6 times 3, that's 18. That will give you 203. Understand? No? I'm not stopping. I know. Show them all. Next. Elohim is the point 22 will give you 86. This is a little magic formula here. That formula works just by putting in these great whole numbers. Next. Et, put in 11, negative 1. Next. Hashemayim, put in 11, negative 2 will give you 395. Va'et is 11-0. And Haaretz is 8-0. So you can actually put in these points. Here they are. Those combination of points for X and Y will give you each of the 7 words. Nice?
I applaud you for getting all of that onto that slide.
It took a while. It took a while mentally.
That is impressive.
It is. Honors at such a young age. Okay, now watch this. If I add up all the X's, I get 73. If I add up all the Y's, you got some negative numbers and some positives, right? It adds up to 0. There's your 73, right? Then you can plug 73 into this formula. 37 times 73, that's 2701, plus 6 times 0, that's 0, and it gives you 2701. This is just for Nate. I got a thumbs up from him, so. All right, you can go back to sleep, Nate. All right. We've already known this. Next. Watch this. 73 times 37. Okay? I'm going to write it in words. 30 and 7 times 70 and 3. Now, that's weird that I would write it like that in English. The reason I wrote it like that in English was because I'm copying it from the Hebrew. Next. Because in the Hebrew, here's how you would say that. You would say, Shaloshim, that's 30. Shalosh is 3. And you put an im on the end, that's 3s. 30. Sheva. And, see, it's 30 and 7. Here's the word for times in Hebrew. Here's the word for 70, shabuim, shalosh, and 3. You see what I've done? I'm just writing it out in Hebrew words, okay? So now let's put in the gematria value for those. Next. You see what I'm doing? We already know something about 37 and 73. It's going to be something goosebump inducing. I don't know what it's going to be, I forget, but you're going to get goosebumps. So you put in the gematrias of those. Boom, 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 for adding up each word. Add them all up, you get 2368. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christos. Put in the gematria values in the Greek. Plug them in. It's the same. Which he is the creator. He was Genesis 1:1. He was there. Okay, here's the gematria values from 1 to 2,000. Right? Next. I'm going to write the reciprocals of those. A reciprocal is just 1 over. Okay, the reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2, a half. Okay, so Aleph is 1, 1 over Aleph is 1. Hay is 5, 1 over Hay is 1/5, which is 0.2, 20%. And I'm going to do that with all the numbers from 1 to 2,000. And just take the reciprocals. And then I'm going to add all the reciprocals together. And you get... So his alphabet has something to do with pi. He's woven that in. Next. Put in the values again. Genesis 1:1. Next. Yeah. Next. We've already done this, right? Multiplied them. Let's do this. We haven't done this one yet. If I take 304 plus 153 plus 525, plus, you understand what I'm doing? Nice. 2701, of course. Next. If I take each of the digits, 3 plus 0 plus 4 plus 1 plus 5, right, the whole way across, I get 73. Just see if you're awake. All right, next. And this is kind of the same thing. 3 plus 0 plus 4 is 7. Next. You see how I'm getting these? Next, 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 next. This is not even a new slide. That's saying the same thing. Now I'm going to boil these down. Next. That's 7 is 7, 9 is 9, 12 becomes 1 plus 2. 19 becomes 10. 4, 4, and they now add up to 37. Kerplunk! And if you multiply them together, you get to 2701.
I think I've discovered what I'm going to do, what we're going to do on Saturday. You and I are going to take a trip to Cherokee.
Next. Next.
May have figured out how to fund our new building. Playing the numbers.
You know, it was a few years ago, I went to Vegas. This is a true story. I drove to Vegas in a $25,000 truck. And I left Vegas in a $300,000 bus. What?
That's good.
You like that one?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. 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 This is a cool one. How are we doing on time? We're getting close. Huh? Good, okay. Genesis 1:1, there are 28 letters, if you counted them up. And the product of the letters, we haven't done this yet. That would be multiplying 90 times 200 times 1 times 5 times 400. You understand what I'm doing here? I'm going to multiply them all together. And when I do, I get this gigundous number here. 23 blazillion something. Okay? Park that number in the back of your head. Don't memorize it, but just recognize it when you see it again. Okay? 23:8. Okay. Next. In Genesis 1:1, the number of words are 7. We've said that. And the product of the words, we've looked at that already, haven't we? The 304, whatever's. Okay, next. Now, I'm going to make a little formula here. The formula is the number of letters times the product of letters. The number of words times the product of words. You don't remember these numbers, but I'll put them back in for you. Next. Number of letters is 28. Product of the letters was 23 blazillion. Number of words was 7. Product of words was that number we've been playing with. And if you type all of that into your phone calculator, it will say it's just too big, it won't figure it out. But if you make a program on your computer, you can calculate it all, and it comes out to be 3.1415 estimated, but those 5 digits are significant digits and are correct, times 10 to the 17th, which is pi, times 10 to the 1/7. There's your 1 and your 7, okay? So he's got pi hidden in Genesis 1:1. Now, those are some really big numbers. If you would have just changed one, and I did, I changed just one little number someplace, and it throws everything off that it doesn't become 3.1415. So he had to be extremely specific of which 28 letters he was going to put in there so that they multiplied together and then divided and all became pi. You understand? Pi is a unique number. Pi, that pi, it goes on and on and on. It never ends. It never repeats. You know, your birthday is somewhere in pi. You understand? Your phone number is in pi. You may have to go out billions of places, but it'll have your phone number. It'll have everything about you. Okay? I think he has everything hidden in pi. All right, next. It's all hidden in the Torah as well. Now, you might say that could just be a coincidence that pi showed up there. And maybe it was. But to show you that it's not a coincidence, here's John 1:1, which is the other in the beginning verse. And the number of letters here are 52. The product of the letters is this 8, whatever. It's just huge, right? Recognize the 8 big number. Next. The number of words are 17. The product of the words gives you this 949. I'm going to plug this into the same formula we did for Genesis 1:1. Number of letters, product of letters. Number of words, product of words. It comes out to 2.7183 estimated times 10 to the 40. It's the natural logarithm. It's also called Euler's number. This is an extremely, this number is just as famous as pi. But that is awesome. And this number is like pi. It never ends. It never repeats. It goes on and on and on. And your phone number's hidden in there too. Okay? Because it goes on and on and on. Now, I'm going to give you a little 5-minute math lesson as to what this special number is, how we got that. Pi, most of you probably know, if you take a circle and divide by the diameter, you get 3.1415926 pi. Okay, next. This is going to be your quick little lesson on what is E. That letter, we have pi. This number is called E, the one that goes on, the natural logarithm. And here's how E works. If you invest $1 with me, and I promise to pay you 100% return in the year, okay? This is the formula you use to figure that out. Watch. You're investing $1 for a year. X is the number of times interest is added. So we're going to add interest once at the end of the year. So you start with your $1. We're adding interest once a year. So what's 1 over 1? 1. What's 1 plus the 1? 2. What's 2 to the first power? 2. So at the end of 1 year, you would get $2. Is everybody happy with that? What We can do better. What if we paid interest twice a year? We'll pay it, you put your money in January 1st. In June 1st, I'm going to pay you, or June 30th, I'm going to pay you the interest for the first half of the year. And then that interest is going to be in there earning interest for the second half of the year. You understand? That's called compound interest. It's a mighty powerful tool. Next. So let's pay you interest twice a year. Here's your $1 you put in. Oh, this is the one we just did. Next. Let's put in 2 times a year. 1 plus 1 over 2 squared. Well, 1.5 squared. That's 1.5 times 1.5 gives you 225. Notice, by me paying you interest twice a year, you've made an extra quarter because your interest from the first half is earning interest during the second half. And if I would pay you interest 3 times a year, 1 plus 1 over 3, that's 1 1/3. That's like 1.33333 raised to the third power. So it's 1.333 times 1.333 times 1.333. It gives you 237, 37, 37, 30. But you made a little bit more than twice a year. If you do it 4 times a year, it comes out to 244. Right, you're probably tempted to say, listen, I want you to pay me interest every day. So now you plug in 365, and it should be more. And then you say, wait a minute, you greedy. I want paid every hour. So you have to recalculate how many hours in the year. 365 times 24. So you'd have 1 plus 1 over 365 times 24 raised to the 365 times 24 power. But you would end up getting a little bit more interest. And you could say, I want paid interest every minute. I want interest every second. I want to be paid interest infinitely, every nanosecond. Next. If you put infinity in there, I'm paying you infinity times a year, and raised to the infinity, it comes out to that magic number. You can never earn more than that magic number. 2.7183 ... That's the natural logarithm E. Okay? So that's a very special number because it's used in lots of branches of mathematics. But I'm just giving you a very simple example of where you can use it. Are we good? Nice, okay. So he hid pi in Genesis 1:1. He's hidden E in John 1:1. Those are the 2 universal, irrational constants that are just. And they just are. And he's got them hidden in the 2 in the beginning verses. Okay, next. Next, that's the same thing. I just put that on there just to, you all know E. You just learned E, and you know pi. Oh, you probably don't know I. I is the imaginary number. It's the square root of -1. But these are the 5 most important numbers in mathematics. E, pi, I, 1, and 0. And they have, you can prove this formula, that e to the pi I plus 1 equals 0. Very advanced mathematics, but it's very clever that they do all combine into one magic little formula. Next. We've already seen this, so let's just stop here because we want to do, let's see if he's awake before we, is that going to buzz if I go?
Saturday. Yeah. Are you going to take it over there? Or you going to leave it? I guess it really don't matter. Oh,
I had gone to Kyrgyzstan in March for 10 days, and when I got there, they closed the borders, and I ended up being there 5 months and 2 days. And just got back last month. And here is, this is the guy and he and his wife I went to visit, and we're going to see if we can hook them up. Okay. Kanaim. I hear ringing. I hear ringing and there's no one there.
Hello?
Hey! Добрый вечер! Are you awake? Are you still sick? Hello?
Hello?
Are you ill? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
You hear me now?
I hear you.
I can't hear you.
I wonder.
That's okay. You talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. Hey, Max? I'm going to have to plug a cord in when you start talking. And when I plug that cord in, I will not be able to hear you. I mean, you will not be able to hear me or us. Okay, so when you start talking, you're not going to hear us, but we will hear you. If you have a question, ask it, and then I can unplug and answer it. But I don't know. Are you feeling better, or are you still sick?
I'm feeling better.
And what's on your head? What are you wearing? A hat?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it cold there?
It's pretty cold.
Well, it's Siberia, next to Siberia. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah. Okay, I'm about to plug in this cord, so it's your turn to talk. Keep it short. Go.
Okay. So, it's a game. It's a pleasure to talk to you, with you. as we know, I'm not a teacher, but I know I kind of learn a lot from the Uncle John. So today I want to I want to tell about the one of the one of the Ten Commandments. Why I choose this theme, because uh, it was again kind of exploding. It blew my mind, and this commandment is do not covet. Uh, the first time when I heard do not covet, uh, we are kind of, in the Muslim countries, they kind of have also kind of the same rule. But uh, till the I'm 27 years old, and till this moment, before the Uncle John explained me, I didn't know. I have no idea why we do not have to. Why we don't have to covet. I mean, uh, why the God Yahweh gave this rule for us, and when He explained, it was just, and uh, you with covet, you stealing not from the other, you stealing from yourself, and it was wow. God created that rule to keep us away from the evil, to keep us away from the bad thing. Uh, you do not covet. It makes us more spiritually clear. Uh, so I noticed that Uncle John, he never pay attention for other people, and he always say, uh, you know, uh, be like Jesus. By the way, about this, I want to tell that it's really hard to be a Christian. There's a several reasons. Uh, it's really hard to be a Christian. For instance, here in Kyrgyzstan, this is kind of Muslim country, and because of the place where I was born, it's kind of difficult. Because of my family, it's kind of difficult. Yeah, but this too is not the main reason. I guess the main reason is to be like a Jesus, because we have to every time, every action, every moment, every time when we talk with other person, every communication, we have to show them Jesus. We have to be like Jesus. And I wanted, I wanted to tell you, it's really, it's really hard to be like Jesus. Uh, Actually, it's impossible for me again. So, and I saw a lot of time uh, when Uncle John act like Jesus. Every time when I get him nervous, when I try to pull his leg, uh, uh, sometimes he get nervous about me, but again he's like a Jesus. Any circumstance, I'm just I'm just asking myself, how how can he uh, stay 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 stand by me. Or stand me. Okay, you understand. So, uh, in the covet, about the covet, before he explained about do not covet, I always was before that I was always thinking like, uh, God, you gave to this young man the car, you gave this house to him, and etc. You know, I was complaining, and complaining. Uh, so, uh, in the complainings are making it's it leaves some scarf on our heart, kinda. I- It's it makes it makes it makes a blur, and it makes far from the God, and it disturbs you to think positive. It disturbs you uh, to be discernment. And from that lesson, I realized that every time when we act, when when every time when we wake up, we have to keep in our heart, in our mind, all the 10 Commandments, all the rules. And the main, the rule is to be like a Jesus. This is to be like a Jesus. To be like a Jesus, I think is the best. It's not a rule, but it's kind of best decision from the all negative, and is the best way to reach what you want. In my case, I want to be wise. Every time when I ask Uncle John, what to ask from God, he said his one reply. Just he replied with this only, just wise and discernment. Discernment, I guess. So, uh, and again, that's all for this talk. I know this is really short, but uh, when I will come in Tennessee, I will prepare more. So again, it was really pleasure. I'm done.
No, I'm bringing him and his wife to Turkey. And there's another couple, husband and wife from Indonesia. And I could probably show you let me show you. Yeah. These are just people that I've met along my journey in life who really love the Hebrew stuff that I teach, and they want to teach their people. Who? Kristen is going. Mm-hmm. Let's see where we find this. Okay, this we can close, right? By the way, his thing with coveting, I explained it better than he did. But he gets the point. If you're coveting, if you want something somebody else has, and you're so focused on that you lose appreciation for what you have. And then you're just so zoomed in on what you want, what somebody else has, that you stop taking care of what you have. And what you do have rots or breaks, and then you end up having nothing. You know? And I was surprised he picked the coveting one. But, okay, we have here, well, maybe we just go to the YouTube. Can I go to YouTube or not? Oh, wait, no, because if I go to YouTube, won't you get in trouble? Yeah, no, I have the video I'm going to show, not on YouTube. It is my material, but they don't know that, do they? Okay, yeah, I'm not. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Is it playing?
Saya bertemu dengan Dutch Uncle John. Dia membagikan sebuah pewahyuan tentang Yesus dilihat dari bahasa
It is.
dari perjanjian lama. Yang kita tahu bahwa Yesus adalah pembawa perjanjian baru. Tapi lewat pewahyuan ini, Shalom Shalom. Di sini Ignatius Levi.
It may not be. Let me see. It's way down.
Kali ini kita akan belajar sedikit tentang bahasa Ibrani. 4 tahun yang lalu saya bertemu dengan Dutch Uncle John. Shalom Shalom. Di sini Ignatius.
Okay, this is Levi. I was invited to speak in Jakarta, Indonesia. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it was a pretty big crowd. I was surprised, and we had a guy translating everything I said in English. He repeated it in Bahasa Indonesia, and Levi sat in the front row, and he was just mesmerized by this. He is a youth pastor, and last year we all met in Cambodia. Maybe I told you, and there was a guy from the Philippines, a guy from Bangladesh, and then we just spent a week exploring Angkor Wat and that kind of sites there. And then in the evening we would have Hebrew lessons, and we planned to make videos in their language. And so this was Levi's first attempt at making the Bereshit video. You're not going to understand it because it's 100% Indonesian. But soon we'll let him go ahead and start.
Levi dari Indonesia. Di video kali ini kita akan belajar sedikit tentang bahasa Ibrani. 4 tahun yang lalu saya bertemu dengan Dutch Uncle John. Dia membagikan sebuah pewahyuan tentang
This was in
Yesus
Cambodia.
dilihat dari bahasa Ibrani, dari perjanjian lama. Yang kita tahu bahwa
he
Yesus
filmed it,
adalah
his
pembawa
wife
perjanjian
edited it.
baru.
I had nothing to do with it.
Lewat pewahyuan ini,
Now let's see if we can jump ahead a bit.
dari pewahyuan ini, John berkenan ini diketahui satu kata. Kata pertama yaitu Tuhan menciptakan langit dan bumi. Oke, pada mulanya Allah.
So you recognize my slides. So I made the slides. He translated into Indonesian, and then I colored them and made them look like my slides. But you see, it's in Bahasa Indonesia and Hebrew.
Menciptakan langit dan bumi. Dan kita hanya fokus pada kata pertama yaitu.
And he's in the process of making his second one. And this is the plan. I don't need to be in the video. He can be the video and just copy my stuff, and I'll help him make the slides. He's enthralled by the material, and we already have the slide pattern. We'll just make it Indonesian.
Original translation yaitu adalah Hebrew, yaitu bahasa Ibrani.
Indonesia is the number one Muslim country in the world.
Menurut saya.
So
dan kita mau belajar dari huruf Ibrani.
Hundreds of millions of Indonesians speak this language.
Dalam bahasa
we did one in Bengali. Bengali is
menciptakan langit dan bumi adalah
half of India, Bangladesh. There's just hundreds of millions of people. And we have the video now in Bengali.
Okay.
Max did it in Russian. And Max is doing a second one. It should be done this week.
Nah, bagi teman-teman semua yang
yes. Because he's going to
banyak hal. Pertama
you've seen this chart where and it has all the meanings over here in Indonesian. I don't know what other slides. Yeah. The numbers, yeah. And he's not doing a numbers talk. He's doing the Bereshit, the Son of God destroyed with hand on cross. That's the lesson he's teaching here. But how cool, huh? And he's going to become Dutch Uncle Levy. So, okay. Well, it is 9 o'clock. I don't think we've ever finished this early. But let's say a prayer tomorrow night. We'll come back here and maybe we can do a little bit more numbers if you like. I also have a little, there's some battles coming up. And maybe we talk about some of the battles. Okay? But, all right. Dear Heavenly Father, awesome God, Yahweh, thank you so much for bringing us out tonight. Thank you so much for putting this great Bible together and leaving your fingerprint everywhere. So there is no doubt that you wrote this. Man could have never put those numbers in there like all you've done. And we just saw just a tiny little portion of it tonight. So thank you so much for giving us the evidence that makes faith easy. And we also pray that you take us all home safely, return us tomorrow, and we pray that there's peace in Jerusalem. And we ask this in Yeshua Jesus' precious holy name. Amen.